Good morning, everyone. Today, this is Mrs. Rondo. Sorry. Today, we're going to be talking about how to use trig to find a missing side. Our essential question, how do we use trigonometry to solve for a missing side of a right triangle? And then our learning goal, I can solve for a missing side length in a right triangle using a sine, cosine, or tangent ratio. So we are going to be reviewing those trig ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent, and using them to find missing lengths in triangles. So here goes. For the notes today, you can definitely just type into your Google Doc. We are going to be doing cross multiplying, the love connection. So if you want to be able to draw hearts, then you might want to use Cami. All right, so this is just to review quickly about sine, cosine, and tangent. Remember the S stands for sine, and it compares opposite and hypotenuse. Then we have the C stands for cosine, compares adjacent and hypotenuse. And then the T stands for tangent, and it represents opposite over adjacent. So we have SOHCAHTOA helping us remember sine, cosine, and tangent. And remember that row at the bottom, you won't learn it until next year or in the future. And then this one is a repeat slide from a previous set of notes, so you don't need to copy anything down here. This is just to review what it looks like. So we have sine theta. Remember, theta is just an angle, representing an angle measure. And then sine of whatever angle we're talking about is going to equal opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent theta would be opposite over adjacent. And again, this one we saw this before. There's just quick review. All right, so we are going to find the side indicated by the variable, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. As we are working today, we are going to be using desmos.com/calculator. Definitely encourage you to use that when you're doing your trig. You can also use the calculator on your phone. If you're using an iPhone, it's a little bit trickier than typically it is with an Android. So you're going to just need to verify that you can get the same answers that I'm getting. And I'll kind of talk us through it as we go. All right, so we're going to start off with example 1. When we're looking to solve or find a side length, we're always going to start with what angle. So we are talking about 37 degrees here. 37! Yay! So we're talking about 37 degrees. That's the angle that we're interested in. Remember, all of trig is based on the angle. So I'm based on 37 degrees. Then I'm going to look at what sides of the triangle they gave me. So specifically V, and then they also gave me 35. Typically, I like to mark the hypotenuse if I have it. So I would probably do that first. Or I would mark, in this case, it's kind of a toss-up because I also want to mark the variable. Doesn't matter which one really. Across from the 90, we have the hypotenuse. And then the 37 compared to the V, they are touching. They are next to each other. So this one is the adjacent. All right, then I'm going to sneak in good old SOHCAHTOA we just talked about briefly. And I'm sneaking this in because this is going to help us decide which trig function are we supposed to use. So we have adjacent and hypotenuse. I'm going to go look at my trig functions, the SOHCAHTOA, and I see right here that I have adjacent and hypotenuse, which tells me I need to use cosine. Okay, so I'm going to go, okay. Right, you got to say that to yourself. Okay. No. All right, so I'm using cosine. And so I'm going to write out my equation. So here's how that looks. I'm going to say cosine of 37 degrees because that's my angle. So the cosine is what I'm using, but I have to say what angle I'm talking about. 37 degrees is going to equal adjacent over hypotenuse. So my adjacent is V over hypotenuse is 35. Then in order to use my cross multiplying, I have to have two fractions with an equal sign. So I'm going to turn this fraction or this cosine 37 into a fraction by putting a 1 under it. Then I am ready to cross multiply, do the love connection. Let's see how good I can make my hearts here. Not too bad. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and do the love connection, and 1 times V, or cross multiply, bring it down, is V. Then I'm going to go 35 times 37. Oh, no, no, no. This is not 35 times 37. This is 35 times cosine. So the way I'm going to write that to help us is 35 times cosine 37. Okay, so the 37 is not acting like a normal number. It's telling us which angle. So we don't do any, we don't add, subtract, multiply, do anything to the 37. We're interacting or we're doing math with the cosine. So it's 35 times cosine, not 35 times 37. All right, then to solve for v, oh look, it's already by itself. At this point, I just need to be able to type it into my calculator. So I'm going to get rid of some of this because we're not going to use it later. And all right, so I'm going to jump over to a calculator. I want to do 35 cosine 37. So I'm going to jump to the calculator. Here we go. All right, so on Desmos, the very first thing you need to do is make sure that the calculator is in degrees because we do all of our angle measurements in degrees. So up here, actually it's over here, I apologize. The little, nope, that I can't remember which one it is. Let's check. Oh, it's this one. Okay, so over here in the upper right-hand corner where it says graph settings and there's a little wrench, you're going to click on that and you're going to go down here and you want degrees to be lit up green. Okay, so we're going to light up, we're going to say we're choosing degrees. And then we can come over here and type in. No, I don't want to write. I want to type. Okay, so then what I type in is literally going to be what we had in our equation. So we have 35, and I'm going to literally type in cosine 37. Okay, and it will give me the answer immediately. It pops up. Test it on your calculator and make sure you're able to get it to match this. If you're using an iPhone calculator, you're going to have to type it in like this. It's a little weird. You actually type it in, you do 35 and then the little star or little times. And then you have to type in which angle and then tell it to do the cosine. It's very weird. You have to say 37, then cosine. And this, if I hit enter, is going to give me all kinds of errors. Yeah, it doesn't like it because it doesn't work in Desmos, and most Androids don't work that way either. Only if you're using iPhone, you have to type the 37 and then the cosine. So it's a little weird. And then hit equals after that, by the way, if you're using that iPhone. So you would say 35 times 37 cosine enter or equals. But definitely make sure, verify that you can get this answer. So I have 27.952. So we're going to take that back to our thing, 27.952. 27.952. All right. We were told to round to the nearest tenth. And so this was a repeat, it kept going, but I just blocked it or truncated it, which means cut it off. All right, but we want to round it properly, which means tenths place is going to be right here. In this case, I want to end with only one decimal. So I look back and decide, am I rounding up or rounding down? And in this case, the 5 tells me to go up, which is going to make the 9 into the next highest number, which is going to turn this into 28.0. So that's what I would type up here or write, sorry, 28.0. I'm writing. You guys are probably typing. All right, and so that's example 1. Let's go on to example 2. We're going to follow that process again. Mark the angle. Then I'm going to decide which sides I have. So I see D is across from 40, so this is going to be my opposite. And then 28 is kind of that next to or touching the angle, so this is adjacent. So I have opposite and adjacent. We're going to check SOHCAHTOA. Up here, I see, oh, right here, I have opposite and adjacent. So this time I'm going to use tangent. And then with tangents, again, I have to do the angle. I have to say which angle I'm talking about, 40 degrees. Then I'm going to set up opposite over adjacent. So D is the opposite, 28 is the adjacent. Then I'm going to make tangent 40 into a fraction by putting a 1 under it. I'm going to cross multiply, do the love connection. Here we go. Not too bad on my hearts. They're like halfway decent. Okay, and then I have 1 times D and bring it down is D. 28 times tangent. Remember, it's not times the 40. It's 28 times tangent 40. And then again, D happens to already be by itself. So I'm going to jump over to Desmos so that I can get the answer here. 28 times, I believe it was 28 tangent 40. And again, all I have to do is literally type in 28 tan 40. And this time I get 23.494 ... So 23,494. I'm going to go back to here. All right, so I have wrong color. 23.494, and it keeps going. And so I want to round that. And so I'm going to say equals 23 point. And remember, I want to cut it off with 1 decimal. So I look back and I say, oh, I got to round up. So 23.5. There we go. All right. Then we're going to continue on. We have 2 more to try out. I'm going to jot down our SOHCAHTOA again. There we go, as a reference. And here we go into, whoopsie, this should say A. Sorry about that. A equals, not T, not L or I or whatever that was. A equals. Okay, so I'm going to write that a little nicer. Once again, I want to mark the angle. So I'm going to mark angle 70 degrees, and I'm going to look at what I have. I have the A, which is next to my angle, so this is going to be adjacent. And then my 12, which is across from or opposite. So again, looking for adjacent and opposite. I see that up here in my tangent. So in that last part, it's going to be opposite over adjacent, and I'm using my tangent. So here goes tangent 70 equals opposite, whoopsie. Sorry, let me write that a little better. There we go. Opposite over adjacent, which is A. All right, so I'm going to have the same strategy. I'm going to make this into a fraction, put a 1 under it, cross multiply, do the love connection. There we go. And then when I do this, this time I get 1 times 12 and bring it down is 12. A times tangent, remember it's not A times 70, it's A times tangent. So I'm going to do A times tangent 70. Okay, so this time I have to do a little bit more solving. I want to get A by itself. This is A times tangent 70. So to get rid of that, to get A all by itself, I'm going to divide both sides, do the inverse. It was multiply. So I'm going to divide by tangent 70. And notice the whole thing goes together. The tangent with the angle, they go together. So that's going to cancel out. Anything over itself is 1. So I get A equals, and then I'm going to type this business into my Desmos calculator. Okay, so I'm going to pop back to Desmos again. 12 divided by tangent 70. So I got to remember every single time what we're doing. 12 divided by tangent 70. All right, so let's see this. We have 12 divided by, and I just hit the divide button, the little slashy, and it gave me the fraction. So that was nice. Tangent 70. This is why I encourage you to use, to make sure that you're using Desmos. And I'm just going to verify that we are in fact still in degrees. Great. So that is going to be the correct answer, 4.367. 4.367. And so I'm going to pop back to this from current, 4.367. All right, and that was, of course, ... And I want to round to the nearest tenth. So again, I want to cut it off with 1 decimal point. I look back for my rounding. I'm going to round up, so 4.3, I'm sorry, 4.4. I'm rounding the 3 up, 4.4. All right, and I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, fantastic. All right, lasty one. We're going to do a similar thing here. So I'm going to mark the angle 34 degrees and I'm going to check. I have opposite and I have hypotenuse. So remember the T is across from the 90. It's the hypotenuse. I'm going to look for which trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse. That would be sine, that first part, the so. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So I say sine 34 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. And then I'm ready to solve again. So I'm going to make this left side a fraction by putting a 1 under it. I'm going to cross multiply, do the love connection. There we go. And then I'm going to solve. So 1 times 29 is 29. T times sine, remember it's times the sine, so T times sine 34. And then again, I want T by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by the sine I'm trying to get rid of. And I'm dividing because it was multiply. So divide both sides by sine, and that's going to cancel out. So I'm going to be looking to type into my calculator here 29 sine 30, 29 divided by, it's important, sine 34. So 29 divided by sine 34. I'm going to keep those for a second here and pop over 29 divided by sine 34. Okay, so we get our answer there. We did 29 divided by sine 34. Here's our answer, 51.860. I'm going to copy that over, 51, hopefully correctly. That's always helpful. 51.860, I believe it was. Oh dear, I don't remember. I'm going to check it, 51.860. Yes, see, I said it and I already was like not sure. 51.860. Get the right thing here. 51.860. And then remember that, of course, goes on, but we are going to cut it off. We're going to round it to the 10th place. And so I'm going to look back and I see, oh, I got to make it bigger. So I'm going to go 51.9. Oh, I did not put this in my previous one, but 51.9. And let's put our actual answer from the last one up here, 4.4. Perfect. And that finishes our notes for today. Check out the Google Classroom for your asynchronous work, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.